So we are talking of earnings per share. Before we write, earnings per share generally, as the name says what? Earnings per share. So what is earnings per share? Is the earnings you get for every share you have. So for every share you have invested in the company, you are entitled to how much? So the amount you get for every shareholding you have in the company, or the number of shares you have, that is what we call earnings per what? Per share. So how do we calculate? Actually, our concern is going to be how do we calculate and how do we present them in the financial statement. So right for me there, the objective of IS 33, I'm not going any shortcuts. We have to go the right way because the way we are treated on the classes, it's not a shortcut, just the normal. The objective of IS 33, the objective of IAS 33, is to prescribe, the objective of IAS 33 is to prescribe the principles. The objective of IAS 33 is to prescribe the principles, for determining and presenting, the principles for determining and presenting earnings per share. Presenting earnings per share, in bracket EPS. Close bracket, EPS amounts to improve performance comparisons, between different entities, to improve performance comparisons between different entities in the same reporting period, and between different reporting periods, for the same entity. Full stop. That is the main purpose of earnings per share. To compare performance of different entities in the same reporting period, or for the same, or between different reporting period, but for the same what? Entity. Right, for me there, scope of EPS, scope of EPS, then you say, let me mute, some people are making noise. So scope of EPS, you say, IAS 33 applies to entities, IAS 33 applies to entities whose securities are publicly traded, or those which are in the process of issuing securities to the public. The process of issuing securities to the public. Full stop. So EPS is not compulsory to any other entity. Nobody will compel Destiny to calculate earnings per share, never. EPS is only compulsory for entities whose securities are traded in the stock market, or those which are in the process of issuing what? Securities. But if an entity decides to present their EPS then they must comply with the provisions of IS number 33. Another if down there, you say, if both parent and consolidated statements, if both parent and consolidated statements are presented in a single report, then EPS is required only. EPS is required only for the consolidated. What did I say? If both the parent and consolidated statements are presented in a single report, then EPS is required only for the consolidated statements. Only required for consolidated statements. Full stop. So if you have parent, subsidiary, and what you only deal with the one for consolidated. Sawa? Yes. Very good. Key definitions. Let's have some keywords. Key definitions. Number one, ordinary shares. Number one, ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shares actually, it has three names. Wake up stroke. It has three names. Common shares. They are also known as common shares. So ordinary shares stroke common shares stroke common stock. It's also known as common stock. Common shares or common stock. Then you say, are equity instruments that is subordinate. Equity instruments that are subordinate to all other classes of equity instruments. That are subordinate to all other classes of equity instruments. I said, Mugenya is saying network problem, don't worry, I'm recording the class. So just try. Potential ordinary shares is the next one, potential. But I hope my network is okay. My network is very stable. So potential ordinary shares, you say, is a financial instrument or other contracts. A financial instrument or other contracts that may entitle its holders to ordinary shares. Full stop. E.g., so examples, convertible debts, convertible preference, options, among others. There can be many, but these are the most common ones. We have others like share warrants, share rights, but these are the most common ones. Potential means what? Potential, kwa kizungu ya kawaida. Potential means what? Likely. You know, I know you know inside, but you don't know how to put it across. So when we talk of potential shares, they are just instrument or contract which gives the holder the right, entitles the holder to ordinary what? Shares. For example, when you check convertible debts, the one convertible means, when you see this in a question, convertible debts means that the debt holders, they will, or they are entitled, or at one point they will be entitled to take some shares of the company. They can convert their loan into shares. Convertible preference means that these preference shareholders are entitled to convert this preference into shares. Options is to employees. We give the employee options that we did share based. So you tell them work for 10 years, then we will give you some share. So if you promise them that, then these ones are potential because they will convert them into what? Into shares. Next, dilution. Next is dilution. Dilution. From the word dilute. Dilution, you say a reduction in earnings per share. Reduction in earnings per share, or an increase in loss per share. Reduction in earnings per share, or an increase in loss per share. Loss per share. Full stop. Next, anti-dilution. 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 Then you say an increase in earnings per share, an increase in earnings per share, or reduction in loss per share, or reduction in loss per share. Reduction in loss per share. Full stop. Full stop. Next, contingently issuable ordinary shares. Contingently issuable ordinary shares. Contingently issuable ordinary shares. Then you say these are ordinary shares. Ordinary shares issuable by the entity, issuable by an entity upon satisfaction of certain conditions. Upon satisfaction of certain conditions by a third party. Full stop. Full stop. Correct. Subtopic. Types of EPS. So types of earnings per share. Types of EPS. So types of EPS. Types of earnings per share. So we have two of them. We have one basic earnings per share, which we'll call EPS. Then we have diluted earnings per share, That is BEPS. So we have those two types of earnings per share. Those two. We have basic, we have diluted EPS. So allow me to start with the basic EPS. Basic earnings per share. Basic earnings per share. Basic EPS. Right, and say, according to series, we define, it is normally defined based on how it is calculated. So you say BEPS is calculated by dividing, profit or loss. Dividing profit or loss attributable to ordinary shareholders. Dividing the profit or loss attributable to ordinary shareholders of the parent company. Please underline parent. Ordinary shareholders of the parent company by the weighted average number of ordinary shares. Weighted average number of ordinary shares outstanding. Weighted average number of ordinary shares outstanding during the period. Outstanding during the period. Outstanding during the period. Full stop. So down there, based on that definition, it simply means that basic EPS is calculated as follows. You take profit attributable to ordinary shareholders divided by weighted average number of ordinary what? Ordinary shares. That is how we calculate basic earnings per share. In short, people will be saying, kuna watu wengine wanatoka kwa Highland, Nancy, you know, people from Highland, they don't know how to differentiate B and P. All of them are B. So ukisikia Nancy amesema kitu yenye si ya kawaida, to them B and P, all of them are B. So BPS is powers over 1/2. That is the formula. It's powers over 1/2. So Nancy, is equal to what? Powers over 1/2. Shikilia hiyo kabisa. Powers over 1/2. So the next question, what is powers? Or how do we calculate that profit? So down there you say powers. So powers will be computed as you can see here. This is how we compute powers. So powers will be calculated as follows. So right here, shillings. You take reported profits after tax. After tax, that is PAT for that period. You take the reported profit after tax, then you less, not really lessing, but you adjust for extra. We call them extraordinary items. So extraordinary items are things like preference dividends in arrears. Preference dividends in arrears. Preference dividends in arrears. So they are just those things, maybe they added and they were supposed to be subtracted, they subtracted, it was supposed to be added. So they are never clear on this, but the examiner will just tell you what is supposed to be done. So they can be added or subtracted depending. Then you less profit attributable to noisemakers, NCI, if at all they are around. Then you less preference dividends. Then now, what you get is the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders, like that. I am good. Then let's go to Wanos. Write down there Wanos. So Wanos, you say, by Wanos down there, you say, these are ordinary shares. These are ordinary shares weighed. Are ordinary shares weighed for time factors. For time factor based on the period. Time factor based on the period when the shareholder, based on the period when the shareholder was entitled. When the shareholder was entitled to earnings stock dividends. Was entitled to earnings stock dividends during the period under consideration. Was entitled to earnings stock dividends during the period under consideration. Under consideration. Full stop. Full stop. Correct. So when we are calculating earnings, you know the driver of EPS is profit and shares. And shares, we have some shareholders. When we started in January, they were there. Some people came and bought shares in what? August. So if you take all of them and then we have to add, these people joined in August, they should not get the same equal with these people, even if the shares are the same. True. So this one, they will rank for earnings from August to December, when the year is coming to an end. So when you weigh them, you multiply with that period, what you are doing, you are determining the weighted what? Average. Illustration. So illustration, you say, the following was the capital structure of ABC Limited. The following was the capital structure of ABC Limited on 1st January 2021. On 1st January 2021. So this was the capital structure. Copy this, 7%, 100,000 preference. Preference shares at shillings 10 each, of course. That one will give you 1 million. Then we had 700. 700 which one? We can put here 1 million. So we can put the same. So 100,000 ordinary shares at shillings 10 as well. 1 million. So the capital structure there was 2 million. So that was the capital structure on 1st January 2021. Additional information. One, additional information number one, the company reported profit before tax. No, profit after tax, sorry. The company reported profit after tax. The company reported profit after tax. Profit after tax of shilling 700,000 for the year ended 31st December 2021. Profit after tax of shilling 700,000 for the year ended 31st December 2021. Number two. On 1st June 2021, on 1st June 2021, just a minute, there's something I want to cross-check. I'm cross-checking something during Janina. So on 1st June 2021, the company issued 240,000 new ordinary shares at full market price. 240,000 new ordinary shares at full market price. Full stop. Nothing else required. Calculate the basic earnings per share. Calculate the basic earnings. Calculate the basic earnings per share. Full stop. So let's calculate the basic. So start from the formula. Always, ukiulizwa tu basic earnings per share, start from the formula. Then answers will come thereafter. So solution down there. Basic EPS is equals to powers divided by what? One-nose. Powers divided by one-nose. You know, students, they normally discuss, but nowadays, you know, when these groups, WhatsApp groups came, people were very excited. People would talk there. School years only watu wakiongeanga sana kwa group. Do people even talk in groups? Hata hii ilikuja WhatsApp status. And people nowadays very keen. Kitambo mtu angewatch zote. Nowadays we watch how many in a day? Even one. So those days when it came around 2018, 2019. So some students section 6 nilikuwa naona wanang'ang'ana wakifanya maswali kwa group mtu anafanya na post, watu wana comment. So I was just following. Unajua ile kufuata chini ya maji, what is happening. So naona wakishindwa wanasema this one we can ask one-nose, this one ask one-nose. Kumbe mimi ndio walikuwa na ndio hiyo. So I hope you don't have a group whereby you will give me that particular name. One of those things weighted out by number of ordinary what? Shares. And that is how I left that group. Alright, so let's apply this in our question. Alright, so let's start with the Powell's computation. Let's start with Powell's computation. So let's start with Powell's computation. So Powell's shillings are in shillings there. We can even reduce them to thousands. You can reduce them to thousands. So what was the reported profit after tax? Reported PAT? 700. Eh? So reported profit after tax is 700. However, you less preference what? Because immediately you have profit after tax, you need to share it with NCI, then preference, then ordinary comes last. So here there was no NCI, meaning that of this PAT, you share with the preference shareholders, then what remains goes to the parent, which is the ordinary. So preference dividends, you don't subtract preference shares. Sometimes I see students subtracting shares. You don't remove shares, you subtract preference what? Dividends. So what was the rate of the preference? It was 10, eh? 10 or 7? 7, eh? So it was 7%. What was the preference in monetary value? Preference in monetary value? 1 million. So 1,000. So what is 7% of that value? Huh? 700. Where do I calculate? 70. 7% of 1,000. 70. So 700 minus 70, 600 and what? 30. So this is the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders. That is the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders. So to get the earnings per share, you need to determine the weighted average number of ordinary shares. So let's have 1 ounce down here. So 1 ounce. 1 ounce. So 1 ounce you weigh the shares for time factor. You weigh them for time factor. So you come here and say, debt is not a must you put it this way, but I find this one to be nice. So say debt, you say details, you say shares, you say weight, then you give us the 1 ounce itself. Correct. Mas. So always start from the beginning of the year. The year is starting when? 1st of January. So 1st January 2021. Details, when you start every financial year, you say balance brought down. So how many ordinary shares were there in the capital structure? In the capital structure, ordinary shares, ordinary. Not in monetary value, but the number of shares. Here we deal with the number of shares. 100. Eh? So let's have here 100. These shareholders were there from January. They are expected to be there all the way to December. So these shares will rank. They will rank for earnings for how many months during the year? 12 months. So that is the weight. So you weigh them for 12 over 12, and therefore 1 ounce will be 100. 100. Sure. Yes. They again gave out some new shares. In which month of the year? Which month? June. Date? The date is important. 1st June. So 1st June, the details, you write new what? New issue, correct. So that is new issue. How many shares did they issue? 240. Will I be correct to say that this is 12/12? No, we'll be unfair to people who are there from January. So these people will run for earnings from this date to the end of the year. How many months? 7. How many months? 7. So those are 7 months. June 6. When you want to collect revenue, is a way of collecting revenue. So those are 7 months. So 240, 7/12, 140. There being nothing, we have closed with 340 shares, but the weighted average of those shares is 240. Correct. 240. So have that. Have that. Therefore, basic EPS is equals to profit. Profit, we got how much? 630. True. Yes. We got 630 divided by the weighted average number of ordinary shares. How many? 240. So over 240. What are you getting? 2.625. 63 is okay. So shilling 2.625 per word. But they will only give you 2 decimal places from the experience. So 2.63 per word per share. That is the basic EPS. Ni ndege inaguruma inataka kutoka bado iko kwa uwanja, si ati imeanza. So tuko sawa mpaka hapo. Alright, so that is the basic EPS. Down there, you say shares issued. Shares issued as part of purchase consideration. Shares issued as part of purchase consideration. As part of purchase consideration. As part of purchase consideration. Should be weighed for time factor. Should be weighed for time factor. Should be weighed for time factor from the date. Should be weighed for time factor from the date. From the date when the subsidiary. From the date when the subsidiary. No. Sorry, let me not just zero into subsidiary. Let me open it. Just delete the word subsidiary. From the date when the investee company. From the date when the investee company was acquired. Was acquired. But not from the date when shares. But not from the date when the shares were transferred. Not from the date when the shares were transferred. Full stop. Full stop. Very sensitive. What we are saying there is this. Financial year starts in January, ends in December. Subsidiary was acquired on subsidiary was acquired in January, but you appreciate and you know, share transfer is always a legal process. You know? Ikongi one-off. So we have agreed legally and everything is done. The acquisition is over and it takes place on effective 1st January. But to transfer the shares, the legal process, your Sharia house is very cumbersome and very tired. So the date when the shares were actually transferred, 1st October. Acquisition took place on 1st January. So when you want to weigh those shares, you weigh them from the date when that company was acquired, not when the shares were that what? Transferred. Because logically, now even if you set EPS aside, logically, if you allow these people that they will weigh from the date they transfer, so they can delay the process. Yes. So the rule is, if you get in a question, shares were given to acquire a company, weigh them from the date when that company was acquired, but not from the date when the shares were transferred. Tick. Subtopic. 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 We are climbing slowly. All right, so right there, issue of shares without changes in resources. The resources here are shares. Is it only shares? So right there I'm saying, this arises when either of the following takes place during the financial year or during the financial year? During the financial year. When either of the following takes place during the financial year, Roman 1, bonus issue, we have share split, we have reverse split, and we have rights issue. Very critical, the rights issue. So why are we saying no change in resources? When, if you know all these things, there is no new shares a company gets when this happens. In this sense, look at the bonus issue. Bonus issues are shares which are given for free to the existing shareholders. So, external. When you check share split takes place this way. If you have one share and you feel they are very expensive, you have one share with a par value of 20, you reduce them to shares of shillings what? 10-10. You split them to 10-10. You make them more affordable to the shareholders. But it's an internal affair. You don't involve outsiders on this. So you just split for them, then you tell them now you can get. So you are just giving to the existing shareholders. You split their shares for reasons which are well known to you. Reverse split is the same. Reverse split, you have two of 10-10. You consolidate them to one share of shillings what? 20. The main aim, you make them expensive to avoid people buying so many shares. Rights issue is giving shares at what? A discount. At a price lower than the market what? The market value, back to the existing ordinary shareholders. So the problem which normally arises with this form is how they should be weighed for time factor. Because these people will complain. They were there from January to December. Then you gave them bonus maybe in October. Then you tell them now, the ones which were given bonus, Those ones will rank for earnings from October to December. Wanakwambia kwa ndio utupatie, si we are work hard for in this company, that's why we are even getting bonus. So how will you weigh them for time factor? Share split. You have taken people's shares, you have reduced par value. Then now you are telling them we have reduced in October, now we want you to rank for dividends from October to December. Si hapo kunaleta shida? Yes. So the main issue, though we will define what they are, nobody will bother to ask you about their definition, but the main issue is how do you weigh them for time factor when calculating the earnings per what? Per share. That is the issue. So let's scale them one by one. Start with the bonus issue. Bonus issue. Bonus issue. Bonus issue is also known as share capitalization. Share capitalization is another name of bonus. Bonus is also known as scrip issue. Correct. Scrip issue. Then you say, is the issue of shares for no consideration. Issue of shares for no consideration. For no consideration to the existing. So for no consideration in brackets for free. To the existing ordinary shareholders. To the existing ordinary shareholders. Ordinary shareholders in proportion to their shareholdings. In proportion to their shareholdings. Full stop. Some people will tell you this English here, that bonus should be weighed for time factor from the earliest reported period during the financial period. Tell your story on the earliest. I want to know this. Bonus are not weighed for time factor. And if you feel like you want to weigh them, just multiply them with what? 12 over 12. Those people you are giving, they were there in the company. They will always demand that the bonus shall rank for dividends for the whole year. So write this way: bonus shares are considered in full. Are considered in full in the one-offs. Considered in full in the one-offs, i.e., they are not weighed. They are not weighed for time factor. They are not weighed for time factor. Full stop. So if you feel you want to weigh them, you multiply with the 12 over what? 12, which is 1, no effect. So down, bonus will take place October. Then I will be here pretending that how many months can you count? There is nothing you are counting for bonus. Alafu mtu alikuwa amelala kidogo anaamka 3. So you take them in full in the weighted average. Andika hapo share splits. Share splits. Share split. Share split. Share split. Then you say, is the reduction in par value? Is the reduction in par value of ordinary shares? Of ordinary shares. The main objective is to make shares more affordable. Is to make shares more affordable to the existing ordinary shareholders. More affordable to the existing ordinary shareholders. The existing ordinary shareholders. However, However, this may have dilution effects on EPS. This may have dilution effects. May have dilution effect on the EPS. Dilution means you are decreasing. Sindio? Unajua watu wengi wakichukua sasa kila mtu ananunua mpaka wengine wanapatana hapo kwa lift. Wanasikizana. So when you reduce it, they become more cheap. Sindio? So that one will lead to increase in shares, which will dilute the earnings per share. Reverse, so I'll tell you how we weigh them. For now, let's write reverse split. Because they are weighed the same way with the reverse, I'll combine that sentence for weighing together. So reverse split, you say, is the consolidation of par value of ordinary shares, consolidation of the par value of ordinary shares. The main objective is to make shares more expensive in order to mitigate, in order to do what? To avoid, yes. In order to avoid dilution effects. Full stop. How is starting there? Just a star for possibility, like a star. Then you say both share split and reverse split. Both share split and reverse split are weighed for time factor. In the same way as bonus. Full stop. So they are not weighed. You cannot split our shares, then you come and tell us that now you want to weigh them from that date. Then don't split our shares. So the rule is always when you split, those people will be entitled to earnings for the whole what? For the whole year, regardless. The last one, rights issue. Rights issue, other one in bracket, the heartbeat of Gasnet. That is what now they like most. That one, it doesn't miss in any question. You just get their rights issue every now and then. This one's in once, but rights issue is very common. So right there, rights issue. I can tell how you people are tired. You know, sometimes when you go back to the village, because every village you must find maybe someone in the market is man them. When you inquire about them, you are told that guy alisoma mpaka akakuwa wazimu, sio? Ati vitabu ilimfanya hivyo. So should I be unaweza kuwa wazimu bila kusoma hiyo habari? Hebu tusome kabisa tuone kama mtu anaweza kuwa wazimu hapa juu ya earnings per share. What you should have realized with yourself, what the reading brings and which you should have identified, you have reduced the rate at which you talk. Kuongea imekuwa kidogo, sio? Kuongea inakuwa kidogo because do you even have time to quarrel? Sasa ndio ukifika kwa nyumba, we need get time to quarrel. Ama kuenda hapo nje kupiga story na wamama. Alright, let's proceed. Rights issue. That was a break for rights issue. So we pray that nobody is going to be mad because of the fire. But in long run, it can be very dangerous. If you don't, it can even make you develop a lot of stress. uenda kwa daktari na kwambia you are not sick. Hauko mgonjwa, unaanza kufikiria ama villagers wamesikia nataka kumaliza siku hiyo. You start having mixed, ama kwa office, people have heard that I'm almost. Why am I? Huh? The best to explain. So rights issue. Rights issue. Rights issue. You say is the issue of shares at a discount. Issue of shares at a discount, in bracket, at a price lower than the fair value. Price lower than the fair value, funga your bracket. To the existing ordinary shareholders. To the existing ordinary shareholders. To the existing ordinary shareholders. In proportion. In proportion to their shareholdings. In proportion to their shareholdings. Full stop. Alright. So problem in your rights issue is this. I don't know whether we have someone in CMA, capital market what? Yes. The last I checked, there was a rule. They issued to all listed companies that provided you are quoted and you want to give out the rights issue, you must notify the CMA via stock market 6 months prior to. So you tell the stock market how many shares do you want to give out for rights issue, let's say 1 million, at what price? They say maybe we want to give out at what price? 20. This is a rule, though I've not checked the current, but last I checked around 2016, it was 6 months prior to the rights issue. So you tell the stock market, you tell the CMA by a stock market that there is an intention to give out rights issue of 1 million shares, each will be at shillings 20. Fine. Come the actual day, when now maybe you have given that notice in July, that you'll do that in December. Come December, in the stock market, you told me we have bulls and we have what? And we have the bears. That fluctuation in the stock market, unapata your price may change that day. The fair value is now how much? 18. In the financial statement, you know, intention to give shares, the way we're doing in share list, is always an expense. You have to make a provision of that immediately in the books. So the provision which was made in the financial statement, they were valued at what price? 20. Come the actual day, price may change. So you need to adjust for this, for that change in price. You adjust in the financial statement. So the price at which these shares were presented to the stock market prior to the rights issue is called the X what? X rights what? Price. Then now the last price to the date of the rights issue, the actual market price to the rights issue, this one we normally call CAM what? CAM rights price. The word CAM here means with. It means this price, those will exercise, they are entitled. Those shares are with, they have the right. They have that right. So when you want to weigh them for time factor, you will have to take this into consideration. That X rights price, because in the financial statement, you had captured it at a different price than now the actual price on that what? On that date. So how to weigh the shares when there's a rights issue is normally affected with this X rights what? Price. So yes? No. Because yes, nimesema the last date quotation, the last just before the rights issue. Then kutakuwa na exercise price hapo mbele tena. So exercise price comes even before they come right to the rights and to the exercise. So write this way. So Mary, I can't even recall which one you want me to repeat, but because I'm recording, utafungua alafu scroll back up. So write this way. You say the main concern is that theoretical X rights price, main concern is that the theoretical X rights price should be adjusted. For the current market value of the shares. Full stop. Another hyphen, TRP, we normally call it TRP sometimes. TRP stands for theoretical X rights price. TRP is the average. Market price. The average market price which the shares, average market price had previously been valued prior to the rights issue. Full stop. Determined as follows. So this is what you will do. I want to put in a very funny way, but it will help us understand when we're doing actual computation. So just obey with this, just write this. So you say X new shares at shillings Y, giving you Q. Then we have A, old shares at shillings B, giving you C. So here you will add, so this is a plus, you add X plus A, you get XA. Here you add Q plus C, you get QC. Therefore, X rights price will be the average. You will take QC divided by XA, that average. So they will tell you. So also note that Y is the exercise price. We can write it formally. Note that Y is the exercise price. You will exercise that at what price? Then B is the rights. Just the price before the rights issue. X rights price. Full stop. Remove. So the examiner will tell you a fraction that they will get 1 new at shillings that for every 2 held. For every 2 held, which was having this value. You know, 2 you are holding was before the rights what? Issue. So that one you will get in the question. So thereafter, after determining the X rights price, this is now how you will weigh the shares. So right there. That's bado inakwanga. Ama tuandike therefore. So one will be as follows. You take ordinary shares before rights issue. Before rights issue, you multiply with rights become rights price, which is the fair value before the rights issue. You divide with the X rights price, you multiply with the period before rights issue. Then you take ordinary shares after rights issue, you multiply with the period after rights issue. You get that, then you add. So the total is the ones. That is how we weigh shares in the presence of a rights issue. There is an alternative method which I know is bad. This is the best. Nancy Muchoka see how. Lakini si mzuri hata si hapa nitakusema bwana yake excuse me kuuliza. Pass. Nothing else. What is remaining is illustration. Traffic hapo ni hesabu. Get out your past papers. Get out your past papers. Get out the past papers. Get out your past papers. Usione ni ngumu, it can sink by force by fire. So, itabidi tukulia kwenye basic diluted. Kwa basic peke yake. Staki swali la dilution. Highest number 33. Basic, the comparative view by but actually at this rate, sometimes sit down and write all your three names. Name. Sometimes write your name one. Yeah, still good. Yes, you can be tired beyond. Kwa nini napata ile staki? What about you just today? Another question. 2019 kulikuwa na yes. We are only doing one question, then we go basic, yes. I wanted a question with basic only, and I've gotten one. Question 5, page 42. So go to page 42, you tell me the sitting. You tell me the sitting. Page 42, question 5. November 2019. All right, so that is November 2019. Right. You know your free name. You know, it's actually what one is now. We can identify. Yes. You love that anymore. November 2019. Yeah, there's a day I went to visit my sister in high school. Na ulizwa hiyo jina. Sijui huyo mtu. Mpaka na network. So did you change your name? Question, page. Unaitwa Mate kama mama. Si Mate. Let's read that question. I hope everyone is there. Dakika Limited has prepared the consolidated financial statements for the year 30th September 2019, extract of which are shown below. Also provided below are extract of the consolidated financial statement for the year ended 30th September 2018. Okay, so profit before interest and tax, finance costs, tax charge, ordinary dividends paid, preference dividends paid, profit attributable to NCI. Kama ulifikiria NCI ilikuacha, iko na wewe bamba to bamba mpaka mtiani. You have also obtained the following information in respect of the company's shares. So, 1, ordinary share capital as at 1st October 2017. Ngoja, the year is ending when? Each year here is ending on which date? 30th September. So for a year to end on 30th September, it must start on 1st of October. So in note 1, they are saying ordinary share capital as at 1st October 2017. Remember, 2017 October is the beginning of 2018, 2017-2018 financial year. Sure. So those will be the opening, the balance brought down for 2018. So it was shillings 15 million made up of shares of shillings what? 5. Get the number of shares. Take 15, shillings 15 divided by 5 to get the number of shares. It's 3 million. So the number of shares is 3 million. Let them not trick you to use the value in one-offs. One-offs will purely use the number of shares. Correct. Dakika Limited issued some 500,000 ordinary shares at full market value on 1st January 2018. No problem. Dakika Limited also made a rights issue of 2 new shares for every 10 shares held on 1st April 2019. The rights price per share was 42.5. That is the exercise price. The rights price per share. So that is the exercise price. Market value per share as at the same date was shillings what? 48. That is the come rights price. That is the come rights price. Dakika Limited also had 1,006% shillings 10 par value non-redeemable preference shares. Required Roman 1, the basic earnings per share for the year 2018. 2, the basic earnings per share for the year 2019. So they want you to compute basic EPS for those 2 years. So we start. Andika formula, kila mahali unabeba formula kwa mfuko, wakitaka EPS unatoa. So basic EPS. Kesho tena by 7 in the class. Hey, me tomorrow for the first time. Class yangu ya kwanza ni 10. Sleeping will know who I am. So basic EPS is equal to powers over who? Alafu mwingine anaenda kwa mtihani andika 1 over powers. Alafu nakumbuka mtihani ikiisha. So it is powers over the weighted average number of ordinary shares. Let's start with powers. So powers, I always recommend when you are dealing with more than a year, compute powers for the 2 years at once. Okay. So powers, let's compute for 2018-2019 financial years. So 2018-2019 shillings line, thousands. And anything you capture here will be marked. I say direct, correct or wrong. So don't usipuzilie kitu yote una record hapo. They will be marked. You know this is not financial reporting. You know this is finance. Of course. Wewe unaona kitu inakaa financial reporting. Yes, in finance, pure. Actually, EPS and reconstruction, those are not, they're not part of financial reporting. So hizi vitu unapata tu mtu tu ndiye alifanya nyinyi mnasafa. You know how they arise? You know all these things unaona in accounting profession, actually any other profession. Like the syllabus is always changed because of stakeholders complex. Unapata kuna mtu alimess kwa ofisi. Ikaripotiwa task name. Mtu akaandika tu kitu akapeleka task name. So unapata kuna mtu alikuwa anafanya kwa kampuni fulani waka compute EPS as an accountant when this thing was not in the syllabus. Aka compute wrong EPS na kaenda mpaka stock market mpaka CMA na kajulikana it is wrong, investors waka complain. CMA wakaandikia task name. It is our view that accountants should also do earnings per share to know how to present them in the financial statement. And I've cast them on Arusha, stakeholders. What is your view? And yes, we're also thinking of the same. That's how they normally come up. Otherwise, as an employer, we are feeling that there is a gap in what and what. What else we discuss? Not about how to participate. And even I don't want to give you the nitty-gritties, but in order for a man to be specialization, your story is not a cancer. Your audit, not auditing. Taxation it level section 2. It was section 2. Taxation it levels like 2 years like 4. Your story to a KPMG. They normally come from employers themselves. See at the customer wanakanga wana. So what una mess to office alafu mtu ana raise issue bas. Inakuwa discussed. Then unasikia kila mtu I was also of the same opinion. Bas. Develop for them. So kuna mtu alitumess. So right there, check how they have shown us those things. So if you check what they have said there clearly, hatuna option, lazima tuanzie juu. Sindio? Hatuna, there is no way you can go about it. So you have to start with profit before interest and tax. Hiyo inaitwa PBIT. In finance we call it EBIT. Earnings before interest and tax. Now when the examiner want to terrorize you, anakuambia tu operating profit. Operating profit your EBIT is the profit before interest and what? Tax. So this is 88.30. This is 70.12. Finance cost, so you less. When I less finance cost, nimetoa nini? Interest. Correct. So finance cost 1045, 987. Hii hata sita itaendeleza. Kama wacha tuendeleze. Tupate PBT, profit before tax. How much? How much? Unaweza shika mwingine ashike ya mwisho, mwingine ashike hii ingine. 77.85. And this one 25. Less tax. Tax 17, 18, 12. Get for me PAT. Hapo una reduce the gap between you and this pack. PAT, 47, 61, and this one? 60, 67. Then, now we have PAT. Which one will we subtract there for the remaining? NCI comes first. Yes. NCI comes before preference and then ordinary. So less NCI 180, 160. So how much do you get? What you get is attributable to shareholders. Shareholders to both preference and ordinary. 58. The other one? 46. Less, which one comes first between the ones which are remaining? Preference. So you less preference div. Preference div is how much? 60, 60. Oh, so attributable to ordinary. Now this is the powers. What remains is don't subtract preference ordinary dividends. Yeah, so why was you banging here? So don't subtract ordinary dividends. So we're going to use God for the employment. So powers, how much? 50? The other one? 41? 41? Correct. There you have so many marks. Now, we want to go to one-os. One-os you can't combine. You have to finish 2018 is when you roll to 2019. Yes. So when did in which year did rights issue took place? You know, rights issue your stubborn. Which year did the rights issue took place? Check for me that. Because when we have rights issue, we go for 3 steps. 19. April 2019. So in 2017, 2018, there was no rights issue. Sure. So when there is no rights issue, this is what you do. It becomes if rights issued, you're stubborn. So do this. You say there, one-os 2017. One-os 2017. So you write here date, details, shares, one-os. No. Wait, one-os. When there is no rights issue, that is what you do. You are going to see how we work it when there is a rights issue. So have this, have that. When you're going class, because so in that class, basically, I'm seeing around 40 people. Wow, 40 water. The evening, around almost 100. Actually, success rate, I think we are around 170 something. It's like 5. What water? I couldn't relative of personal. Wow, what water? At Wokole stories, imagine to labda mmechoka hivi na hata EPS haijawekwa hata kwa hiyo karatasi. It can be possible. Hakuna mtu ako na relative huko. Yeah, no, me I don't have. Date. So you start from the start of that year. Sorry, this is 2018. You start from the beginning of this year. This year was starting on 1st October. Sure. Yes. So 1st October 2017. That is the 2018 financial year. So 1st October Balance brought down. How many ordinary shares were there on 1st October? 3 million. The 15 divided by 5. Eh? So this was 3 million. We are working in thousands. So those are 3,000. Then the holders who are there at the beginning, we will weigh their shares for how many months? 12. Then we tell them 3. Correct? Then number 2. Dakika issued some 500 ordinary shares at full market value on which date? 1st January 2018. 1st January 2018 is still within the year. Simwaka inaenda mpaka lini? September. So that is still within. So 1st January 18, new what? New issue. So in the new issue, they issued how many shares? 500. Are they entitled to earnings for the whole year? Are they entitled to earnings for the whole year? No. So count for me from January to September. How many months? 9 months. Those are 9 months. January to September. January to September, 19 months. So weigh 500 by 9. Yeah? 375. You go to the next until you exhaust that financial period. So next you require the rights issue. And that is next year. So close this one. We have closed with 35. And 35 are having a weight of 33.75. Correct. Itakuja. Na tukimaliza online siwaoni, lakini hapa nitawahesabia the ranking of tiredness. Naona amechoka zaidi akifuatwa na nani mpaka mwisho. Magi, why are you laughing? Are you in the run? Therefore, basic EPS, basic earnings per share 2018, take the powers. Powers 2018 was 45, 41, which we have just calculated. Divide by 1 which was 33.75. You get shillings what per share? Hmm? 35, eh? 1.35 per what? Per share. You hata unamaliza kwa mtihani na black pen. Kama umekuwa ukitumia black, unaona tunatumia black mtihani kweli? Hapana. Watu wanatumia blue. Hiyo unaangalia na black. Then 2019, I want to close this one. Mtenda hii kwa mtihani mkiwa fresh na ndio. Unasikia ukienda kufanya mtihani mahali unasikia wakisema umeipa wanos. Let's go to 2019. I was waiting for those people who are not done. Let's go to 2019. 2019, there was a rights issue ahead. When there is a rights issue, you do 3 steps. Step 1, you determine what is called share movement, the changes in shares. You calculate X rights price. They will never give you the X rights price. Then step 3 is when now you weigh. So step 1, 2019. Step 1, I want you to get for me, what do you want to get for me? Share movements. You're reminding me. Share movements. When there's a rights issue, please leave your mshike. Unaona hiyo tumefanya kwanza imekuwa nywe. Hiyo kila mtu anafanya. So tofauti itakuja hapa sasa. Sasa wenye utawacha fellow Kenyans. Hapa sasa ndio. Many students fear this. Now I want you to be now the champion of doing rights issue. So though there are 2 alternative methods, I will only show you one. to avoid confusion. So share movement, you write date, you write details, you write what? Shares. So you ignore weight. No, there's a method you can complete at once, but I get it. Quite cumbersome of getting 3 bonus in the rights issue, long process. Whichever method you use, you will still get the same answer. So don't go to weight, don't go to hours. So 1st of October 2018. Yes, you will end up back at 2019. Sure. Yes. So 1st October 2018, balance brought down. So balance brought down, you pick the shares we closed with last period. And you don't pick the weighted, you pick the actual number of shares. 35. Yes, we closed with 35. We closed with 35. Then now go to the question from where you stopped. You continue from there. So we are going to note 3. Nakika also made a rights issue of 2 new ordinary shares for every 10. On when? 1st April 2019. Rights issue. Rights issue. So rights issue. So you need to check how many shares did you get through the rights to what? Issue. What was the policy? You get what for what? You get 2 for every 10. So get 2 for every 10 held. 2 new for 10 held. How many are we holding? 35. So times 35. How many shares are we getting? Times 35. 700. So 700. Number 4, Dakika had 6. Talking about preference. Your 6 times your value utapata ile preference dividends. Sio? Your not voice irrelevant. Hakuna vyenye tusaidia. Okay, it was 12 bucks kama tungepewa hii preference dividends. So kichukua hiyo 1 million, so ni 1 million times 10 per value times 6%. So it will help you to get the preference dividends of 60. So that one we don't want. Kusha, we are done. Can you add for me these shares? 40 which one? 42. All right. Now that is step 1. Step 2, you calculate for me X rights what? X rights price. That is the second step. I'm only calculating X rights price in this question. In the subsequent questions, nitakuwa natembea nje kidogo irudi nipate X rights price. Umeshapata. So understand how we determine it. So just check. How many new shares are we getting through the rights issue? We are getting 2. How many shares are we getting through the rights? 2 new. So 2 new shares. But what is the price of those 2 new shares? The exercise price. The rights price per share is 42.5. So these 2 new are valued at 42.5. Multiply. 2 new at 42.5. Giving you 85. Then it was 2 new for every 10 held. 10 held, what was the price before the rights, just before the rights issue? Elecam rights price. The market value per share as at the same date was 40 what? 48. So that was the market price on that date. So that is 480. This person will end up having how many shares? 12. But 12 will be having a total value of 565. Therefore, X rights price is equals to 565 divided by 12. 47. 0. 1. See 1. 0.08. How about 7.1? 7.1. Sawa. Aya, so 20 step 3. Alright, so check the formula. How do we get one? Now step 3 is the one itself. When there's a rights issue, okay, you are going to do it. You do it with the formula. If we the formula, so I'm inserting the figures that you will capture. You just read for me the formula. We said we take ordinary shares before rights issue. Now your formula. Ordinary shares before rights issue. Before rights issue, we are having how many shares? 30? 35. So you take 35. Okay, I will explain this logic in this question. Next, I will not be explaining. 35. This 35 we took the market at X right price, that average, which you are telling me 47.1. Come the actual day, that day, the shares were trading at what price? 48. So the same, this is what we captured even in the financial statement, what we notified the stock market. But now come the actual day, they were trading at 48. So you adjust. So how do you adjust? You multiply, you take 48 divided by 47.1. Though we are just wanting to know it is come right over the X what? X prime. I don't want you to start reasoning all this is equal to this now. Kama mnashikanga mambo ya hata watusi wa Kenya yote kushika tu come right over X right hiyo ni kazi ngumu. I don't want you to go this route. Just know it is come right over X right. Then times the period before the rights issue. Period before rights issue is this period here from October last year up to here. How many months? Example. How many months before rights issue? 6 months. October, December, 3. January, March, 3. 6 months. Though there's another route, you have to put a bonus in the rights issue, it will just waste your time. Sasa kwenye tumefika, hata Epsias sijafika. Sasa hivi ndio watu wanaambiwa kila mtu aangalie mzigo yake kwenye iko isipote hatujatoka. So this one comes to how much? How many? 788. 783. 1783. 45. 44. So, then if you check your formula, now take shares after the join na hizo za rights. Imalize mwaka. So after joining with rights, we have how many shares? 42. So you take 42 times the remaining period up to the end of the year times 6/12. coming to 21. Add this total. That is the weighted average. Hmm? 38, 83.44. That is the ones. Unaweka therefore serious. Therefore, basic EPS 2019 is equals to powers we computed 58 divided by 0.44, giving you shillings what per share? 1 point per what? Per share. Correct. $1.5 per share. 1.5 per share. 1.5 per share. That's the number of the kweli kwa class. And another one. Finished. We are done. We are done with that question. Nataka kuwapea kaswali kadogo uniangalilie kwa the next class. Unajua kuna watu niligundua wanashtuliwa na swali ndio wakuti. Waone hivi, wacha tuende tusikize hii. But I'm giving a very small one. Yenyewe maneno mingi. Andika hapo. It's a very small question. November 2016. Mayo Mugenya at 5827 from where? From this one. One way pause, unatumia pause gani? November 2016. November 2016. Question 4. Question 4B. Question 4B, page 98. 4B, page 98. Mugenya, that one tells me kuna kitu hujalewa vizuri hapo kwa hiyo dilution ya 2019. Because hiyo kitu umeuliza, hiyo hata ukiniambia thanks. Hiyo kalia before ulale. I can tell. I know you very well. Hiyo hapa kuna venye vitu zimeenda hivi. Make sure umeangalia vizuri. So thank you so much. I'm sending you that video. In fact, right away, I'll send before I go home. So that some people can do it overnight. Oh, network ni nakusumbua sawa. Thank you.